emotions are being used against you. Every day the world provokes you, an inconsiderate driver, a rude remark, an unexpected setback. And every time you react impulsively, you surrender your power. You let external forces dictate your inner state, like a ship tossed in a storm. But what if you could be the storm? What if no insult, no frustration, no loss could shake your core? The Stoics mastered this art. They understood that emotions left unchecked are tyrants, but disciplined, they become tools of wisdom. While the masses let every inconvenience rule their day, the Stoic stands unmoved, responding with clarity, never impulse. The good news? This is a skill, not a talent. With 10 daily Stoic disciplines, you can break free from emotional enslavement and achieve the unshakable tranquility of a true Stoic. This isn't just theory. This is practical, time-tested philosophy that can redefine how you experience life. Are you ready to reclaim your power? Then let's begin.
Habit 1.
Master the dichotomy of control. Accept that your emotions are within your power, but external events are not. There's a story about a philosopher and a storm. A ship caught in violent waves, passengers screaming, gripping onto anything to keep from being thrown overboard. But amidst the chaos, one man sat still, unshaken. That man was Epictetus, the Stoic thinker who taught one of the most powerful lessons of all: control what you can, accept what you cannot. Think about your own life. How much time have you spent stressing over things beyond your reach? The rude stranger on the street, the unexpected news that ruined your day, the economy, the weather, the opinions of others. These are external forces, yet we let them dictate our emotions, as if we are puppets being pulled by invisible strings. But here's the truth. You are only a slave to these forces if you choose to be. Epictetus put it simply: some things are up to us, and some things are not. Your thoughts, reactions, and choices, those belong to you. Everything else, it's not yours to control. When you finally understand this, a profound freedom takes hold. You stop wasting energy trying to bend the world to your will and instead focus on the one thing that is always within your grasp: your own mind. Next time something disrupts your peace, pause. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, act with wisdom, not impulse. That is the essence of Stoic mastery: choosing response over reaction, clarity over chaos. But control isn't just about letting go. It's about mastering the space between stimulus and response. And that's where our next principle comes in: the power of delay. Training yourself to pause before reacting, so that wisdom, not emotion, guides your next move. Habit 2. Harness the power of delay. Train yourself to pause before reacting, allowing reason to guide you. Imagine this. You receive an email that instantly makes your blood boil. Maybe it's an unfair accusation from a colleague, a condescending remark, or unexpected bad news. Your instinct? Fire back immediately. But pause for a moment. What usually happens when we react in anger without thinking? Regret follows. Words can't be taken back. Actions can't be undone. And most of all, we often make situations worse, not better. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that between an event and your reaction lies a small but powerful space, a moment where you get to decide whether emotion or reason takes control. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Think of an archer. If they fire the moment they grab the arrow, they will likely miss, but if they pause, breathe, aim, and then release, they hit their target. Your words, your actions, these are your arrows. If you release them without thought, you're shooting blind. But if you pause, you take back control. So how do you train yourself to pause before reacting? Take a breath. When something triggers an emotional reaction, do nothing, at least for a few seconds. Breathe deeply. Inhale through your nose. Exhale slowly. This interrupts the impulse to react. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Most things that irritate us are temporary and trivial in the grand scheme of life. Will this matter in a week? A month? If not, let it go. Delay your response. Whether it's an argument, an angry email, or a heated discussion, step away. Give yourself 10 minutes, an hour, or even a day before responding. Time brings clarity. Reframe the situation. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Is this situation really as bad as it seems? Can you respond with logic rather than emotion? Each time you practice this, you strengthen your mental discipline. You shift from being reactive to being deliberate, and that is where true power lies. But delaying your reaction is just one side of emotional mastery. What if you could prepare for challenges before they happen, reducing their emotional impact altogether? That's where our next principle comes in. Premeditatio Malorum. Visualizing setbacks before they occur so that you remain unshaken when they do. Habit 3. Practice Premeditatio Malorum. Visualize setbacks in advance to diminish their emotional impact. Picture this. You wake up expecting a smooth day. You have everything planned. Meetings, errands, maybe even time to relax. But then life happens. Your car won't start. An urgent email derails your schedule. Someone says something that throws you off balance. Suddenly stress takes over. But what if none of this surprised you? What if you had already prepared for it? Mentally, emotionally. This is the power of Premeditatio Malorum, a fundamental Stoic practice that translates to the premeditation of evils. It means anticipating difficulties before they arise, so that when they do, they don't break you. Seneca put it best. He robs present misfortunes of their power who has perceived them coming. The problem isn't adversity, it's that we're caught off guard by it. We expect life to go smoothly, and when it doesn't, we resist, we react, we suffer. The Stoics understood that suffering is often just the gap between expectation and reality. By lowering that gap by expecting setbacks, we become unshakable. So how do you practice Premeditatio Malorum in daily life? Start each morning by imagining obstacles. Before your day begins, take a moment to ask yourself, what could go wrong today? A traffic jam? A difficult conversation? A sudden change in plans? By mentally preparing, you create a buffer between yourself and frustration. Detach from the outcome. Expect challenges, not in a pessimistic way, but in a Stoic way. It doesn't mean you dwell on negativity, but rather, you accept that obstacles are part of life. This way, you're never blindsided. Visualize your calm response. Don't just picture problems, picture yourself handling them well. See yourself stuck in traffic, but unbothered. Imagine receiving criticism and responding with wisdom instead of anger. When the moment comes, your mind has already rehearsed self-control. Reflect at the end of the day. Ask yourself, did anything catch me off guard today? How could I have prepared for it? This reinforces your ability to anticipate the unexpected. The world won't stop throwing challenges your way, but with Premeditatio Malorum, you'll stop being shaken by them. You won't just endure life's storms, you'll walk through them like a Stoic, steady and composed. But how do you track your progress in mastering your emotional responses? That's where our next principle comes in. Daily Stoic journaling. Observing your emotions like a philosopher to refine your control. Habit 4. Journaling for self-reflection. Analyze emotional reactions daily to identify patterns and improve responses. Imagine having a mentor who follows you throughout your day, watching your reactions, noting your emotions, and at the end of the night, sitting down with you to discuss where you stayed composed and where you lost control. What if I told you that this mentor already exists? It's your own journal. The Stoics were obsessive about self-examination. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, ended each day by writing in his journal, not to record events, but to reflect on his thoughts, emotions, and actions. His meditations wasn't written for an audience. It was his personal tool for growth. If the most powerful man in the world needed this practice, what does that say about us? We often assume we are rational, in control. But emotions have a way of repeating themselves. We react in anger to the same kinds of frustrations, feel anxious over the same uncertainties, fall into impatience over the same delays. The problem? We rarely track these patterns, we simply live them over and over again. This is where Stoic journaling comes in. A simple practice that over time becomes a mirror for your mind. So how do you use it effectively? Ask yourself 3 questions at the end of the day. When did I let my emotions take control today? What could I have done differently? What lesson will I carry into tomorrow? Write without judgment. This is not about guilt or shame, this is about observation. A Stoic doesn't punish themselves for a mistake, they learn from it. Notice patterns over time. If you find yourself triggered by the same situations repeatedly, it's a sign that this is where your Stoic training is needed the most. Plan for tomorrow. Don't just reflect on the past, use it to prepare for the future. If you notice that impatience got the best of you today, plan to approach similar situations differently tomorrow. The goal is not perfection, it's awareness. The more you understand your emotions, the less control they have over you. Journaling makes your mind a laboratory for wisdom, every day refining yourself, little by little, until emotional turbulence no longer rules you. But self-reflection is only part of emotional mastery. How do you stay grounded in the present, ensuring emotions don't sweep you away in the first place? That's where our next principle comes in. Cultivating present moment awareness, learning to anchor yourself in the now, where emotions lose their hold over you. Habit 5. Practicing mindfulness. Stay present to prevent emotions from clouding your judgment. Imagine this. You're sitting in traffic, running late for an important meeting. Frustration builds. Your thoughts race. Why is this happening? What if I miss something crucial? Before you know it, your emotions take control. Your pulse quickens, tension rises, and suddenly you're lost in a storm of frustration. But here's the question. Is your anger solving anything? The Stoics understood a simple yet profound truth. Most suffering comes not from external events, but from our own reactions to them. And what causes these reactions? A lack of presence. We live in either the past, rehashing regrets, or in the future, fearing what hasn't happened yet. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." Why? Because the present is the only place where you have control. The moment you lose awareness of it, emotions take over. But mindfulness isn't just about being calm, it's about clarity. When you are present, you see reality for what it is, without distortion. Anger, anxiety, and frustration all depend on being lost in thought, thinking about what should be rather than accepting what is. So how do you train yourself to stay present? Use your senses as anchors. Whenever emotions rise, pause and focus on your breath. Feel the air entering your lungs, the ground beneath your feet, the sounds around you. This brings you back to the now. Label your emotions. Instead of saying, "I am angry," say, "I am noticing anger." This creates distance between you and the feeling, making it easier to manage. Interrupt emotional loops. If your mind spirals into worry, ask yourself, am I reacting to reality or to my imagination? Most stress comes from imagined scenarios, not actual events. Slow down your responses. If you're about to react impulsively, take a deep breath, count to 3, and reassess. Most emotions pass quickly if you don't feed them. When you master mindfulness, you stop being a victim of your emotions. You become the observer, the thinker, the one who decides how to respond. But even with mindfulness, emotions still arise. The key is learning how to detach from them, seeing them as temporary rather than identifying with them. And that leads us to our next principle, the art of non-attachment, learning to let go of emotional weight and reclaim your inner peace. Habit 6. Seek voluntary hardship. Expose yourself to discomfort to fortify your emotional discipline. Comfort is a double-edged sword. It makes life easier, but it also makes us weaker. When was the last time you intentionally chose discomfort? Not because you had to, but because you wanted to train yourself to become stronger, more resilient, more in control of your emotions. The Stoics believed that voluntary hardship, choosing to face discomfort when you don't have to, was the ultimate training ground for self-mastery. Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest men, would sleep on the floor and eat only bread and water for days. Why? To remind himself that comfort was not a necessity, and that if misfortune ever struck, he would not be afraid. Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, Is this the condition that I feared? Seneca. Think about it. How much of our emotional turmoil comes from being too used to comfort? We get irritated when things don't go our way, frustrated by small inconveniences, overwhelmed by the unexpected. The more fragile we are, the more life can shake us. But if you train yourself through voluntary hardship, discomfort no longer controls you. You become the master of your emotions. So how do you apply this in daily life? Embrace physical discomfort. Take cold showers. Walk instead of driving. Push your body beyond what feels comfortable. When you voluntarily endure small hardships, you become unshaken by life's inevitable discomforts. Fast from indulgences. Skip a meal. Go a day without coffee or social media. Challenge your cravings. Realize that you don't need them as much as you think. Do difficult things on purpose. Take the harder path, not because you have to, but because it strengthens you. Wake up earlier. Take on extra responsibility. Speak up when it's uncomfortable. Train yourself to remain calm in stressful situations. Next time you're stuck in traffic or in a long line, use it as training. Instead of getting frustrated, see if you can remain completely composed. By embracing voluntary hardship, you build mental toughness. You condition yourself to remain calm when life gets hard, because you've already practiced enduring difficulty on your own terms. But discipline is only one part of emotional mastery. The next step is shifting your perspective, learning to reframe challenges as opportunities, obstacles as lessons. And that leads us to our next principle. The obstacle is the way, transforming setbacks into stepping stones for growth. Habit 7. Adopt the view from above. Gain perspective to master your emotions. Have you ever looked out of an airplane window and watched as the world below shrinks into miniature? The streets, the people, the buildings, all the things that once felt so big and important, suddenly seem small, insignificant. This is the view from above, a Stoic practice that shifts your perspective and frees you from emotional turmoil. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to mentally zoom out, to see himself as just a small part of the vast, ever-changing universe. Why? Because most of our emotional suffering comes from being too zoomed in, trapped in our own problems, our own emotions, our own narrow view of life. When you're overwhelmed, ask yourself, how much will this matter in a week, a year, a decade? When you take a step back, you realize that many of the things that disturb you today are fleeting. The insult that stung, the inconvenience that frustrated you, the disappointment that felt unbearable. All of it is temporary. How do you apply the view from above in daily life? Zoom out in the moment. When emotions take over, imagine rising above your own body, like a bird soaring higher and higher. See yourself from a distance. Observe your emotions as if they belong to someone else. Expand your time horizon. Will this issue matter in the long run? Most of what upsets us today will be forgotten in time. Remembering this can instantly reduce emotional distress. Compare your problems to the grand scheme. Think of the entire universe, the vastness of space, the countless generations before you, the endless future ahead. In that perspective, how big is your problem really? Practice gratitude through perspective. Many things we stress about are privileges in disguise. The job you complain about? Someone else dreams of having it. The long wait in traffic? A reminder that you have a car to drive. Shifting perspective changes how you feel. When you practice the view from above, you detach from the smallness of daily frustrations and see life for what it truly is, a fleeting moment in the vastness of existence. And when you understand that, you gain power over your emotions. But what happens when the storm of emotions does hit? When frustration, anger, or sadness refuse to leave? That's where our next principle comes in. The art of negative visualization, preparing your mind so that when difficulties arise, you're already unshaken. Habit 8. Embrace Amor Fati. Love everything that happens, good or bad. What if instead of resisting life's difficulties, you could learn to love them? Not just accept them, but actually embrace them as if you had chosen them? This is Amor Fati, the Stoic principle of loving your fate. Everything that happens, whether good or bad. Nietzsche called it the formula for greatness. Marcus Aurelius practiced it in every hardship. Epictetus, born a slave, mastered it by realizing that suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our judgment of them. We often believe that things should be different than they are, that we deserve better, that life is unfair. And when reality doesn't match our expectations, frustration, anger, and sadness take over. But what if you flipped the script? What if, instead of resisting life's challenges, you saw them as gifts, as opportunities to grow, as tests that forge strength, as moments that shape your destiny? Think about it. The most powerful stories, the greatest legends, all involve struggle. Every hero in history faced obstacles. But what separates them from the rest? They didn't just endure their hardships, they embraced them. How to practice Amor Fati in daily life. Change why me to why not me. When difficulties arise, instead of resisting, ask, what can I learn from this? See every challenge as training for your mind and character. Reframe setbacks as opportunities. Lost a job? Maybe it's a chance to build something better. Rejected? Maybe you were meant for a different path. Nothing is inherently bad, only your perception makes it so. Look back at hardships that made you stronger. Think of a time when something felt devastating, but later turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Amor Fati is realizing that everything happening now may serve you in the future. Remind yourself, resistance is suffering. The more you fight reality, the more you suffer. The moment you embrace what is, you free yourself. Amor Fati is the path to inner peace. Instead of seeing life as something happening to you, see it as something happening for you. Love your fate, and suddenly, nothing can truly harm you. But loving fate doesn't mean being passive, it means responding wisely. How do you take control of your emotions and reactions while embracing what life gives you? That leads us to our next principle. Harnessing the power of reason. Using logic to master emotions and stay unshaken in any situation. Habit 9. Govern your speech and inner dialogue. Master your words, master your mind. Words shape reality. The way you speak, to others and more importantly to yourself, determines the way you experience the world. But ask yourself, are your words working for you or against you? The Stoics understood that self-mastery begins with speech, both external and internal. Epictetus warned, first learn the meaning of what you say and then speak. Why? Because words are not just expressions of thought, they shape thought. The more you complain, the weaker you feel. The more you criticize, the more negativity takes hold. And the more you tell yourself, I can't, I'm not good enough, this is impossible, the more those words become reality. But it's not just about avoiding negativity, it's about choosing words that make you stronger. Imagine if instead of saying, I have to wake up early, you said, I get to wake up early and improve myself. Instead of saying, I failed, you said, I learned. This small shift changes everything. How to govern your speech and inner dialogue. Practice verbal discipline. Before speaking, ask, is this true? Is this necessary? Is this helpful? If not, remain silent. Eliminate complaints. Complaining reinforces powerlessness. Instead of saying, this is unfair, say, this is a challenge I will overcome. Reframe your self-talk. Catch negative thoughts and rewrite them. Replace I'm terrible at this with I'm improving every day. Speak with purpose and strength. Your words should reflect who you want to become, not just who you are today. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought. If you speak with wisdom, discipline, and resilience, those qualities will take root in your character. Mastering your speech and inner dialogue is like mastering a sword. If wielded carelessly, it can cut you down. If wielded with skill, it can be your greatest weapon. But self-mastery doesn't stop here. Your words influence your actions, and your actions determine your habits. And that leads us to our next principle, the power of routine. Creating daily habits that reinforce emotional strength and stoic discipline. Habit 10. Reflect and refine each evening. The stoic habit of nightly self-examination. How often do you pause at the end of the day to reflect? Not just on what happened, but on how you responded. Most people rush through life repeating the same mistakes, never stopping to ask, did I live today as the person I want to be? The Stoics understood that self-improvement isn't an accident, it's a practice. And one of their most powerful tools was evening reflection. Seneca, one of Rome's greatest philosophers, described his nightly routine. When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go over my deeds and words. I hide nothing from myself. I leave nothing out. This wasn't self-criticism, it was self-mastery. By reviewing his actions each night, he ensured that each day was better than the last. He didn't just let his emotions rule him, he studied them, refined them, and gradually became stronger. How to practice evening reflection. Ask yourself the right questions. Before bed, take 5 minutes to reflect. Where did I let emotions control me today? Did I respond with wisdom or impulse? What can I improve tomorrow? Write it down. Journaling helps solidify insights. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations was nothing more than his personal reflections, never meant for anyone else, just a tool to strengthen his own mind. Separate what you can control. Did you get angry over something outside your control? Next time, remind yourself, the only thing I control is my response. Forgive yourself, then move forward. This isn't about self-punishment, it's about learning. If you fell short today, resolve to do better tomorrow. The difference between those who stay the same and those who evolve is intentional reflection. You don't become a Stoic overnight, but by refining yourself each evening, you sharpen your mind, strengthen your character, and take control of your emotions. And when you wake up, you'll be ready to apply the next principle, starting each day with clarity and purpose, setting intentions that align with the person you are striving to become. Mastering your emotional reactions isn't about suppressing your feelings, it's about training your mind to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. The Stoics understood that emotions aren't the enemy. It's our lack of control over them that leads to suffering. Each habit we've explored, from practicing the dichotomy of control, delaying reactions and visualizing setbacks, to adopting the view from above, embracing Amor Fati, and reflecting each evening, is a tool to strengthen your mind. But tools alone aren't enough. You have to use them. The real question is, will you apply these principles or will they remain just ideas? Imagine a version of yourself a year from now, someone unshaken by life's chaos, someone who faces challenges with clarity, and someone who controls their emotions rather than being controlled by them. That version of you is built one habit at a time. So start today. Choose just one habit. Whether it's pausing before reacting, journaling at night, or reframing your inner dialogue, and commit to it. Small, daily actions lead to lasting transformation. If this video resonated with you, help spread the wisdom of Stoicism by hitting like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more people looking to master their minds and improve their lives. Comment below, which of these habits will you start practicing today? Let's build a community of Stoic thinkers who elevate each other. And if you're ready for more Stoic wisdom, check out our next video, where we dive deeper into how to handle criticism and negativity with the mindset of a true Stoic. Click the link on your screen, and let's continue this journey together. Remember, you don't control what happens, but you always control how you respond. Live wisely, stay Stoic.